Did Nikola Tesla conceptualize the smartphone? Could H.G. Wells really have seen the A-bomb coming? Yes, maybe it's no surprise, but some of history's greatest minds have made some truly stunning predictions. Although known for his breakthroughs in engineering and technology, Nikola Tesla also liked to speculate about what life on Earth may look like in the future. In a February 1935 article for Liberty magazine called "The Machine to End War," for example, Tesla let loose with his predictions of the shape of life to come. He wrote, "Hygiene, physical culture will be recognized branches of education and government." Tesla also predicted a presidential cabinet-level position for the Secretary of Hygiene or Physical Culture. In 1953, the federal government established the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, now known as the Department of Health and Human Services, and its director serves in the president's cabinet. Tesla had also correctly speculated that health and physical education classes would someday be compulsory subjects in public schools. In the 21st century, most states require gym and health classes at all levels. Tesla also correctly guessed at a time when the Industrial Revolution was winding down that pollution caused by new modern methods of production would prove deadly. He wrote, "More people die or grow sick from polluted water than from coffee, tea, tobacco, and other stimulants. Today, about 1.4 million people die from consuming polluted water annually, although it bears mentioning that some 8 million people a year suffer tobacco-related deaths." Modern-day smartphones offer users a variety of methods by which they can communicate instantaneously with others around the world. The average iPhone can handle traditional voice calls or transmit and receive direct video via applications like FaceTime, Zoom, and Skype, all without any wires, cords, or tethers to communication systems or external electricity sources. And all that computing power occurs inside of a tiny, thin brick that slides comfortably into a pocket. In both form and function, the 21st century's battery-powered, network-reliant smartphone closely fits the vision proposed by Nikola Tesla in an interview that appeared in a 1926 issue of Collier's. Tesla said, "When wireless is perfectly applied, the whole Earth will be converted into a huge brain," which in fact it is. All things being particles of a real and rhythmic whole, we shall be able to communicate with one another instantly, irrespective of distance. Not only this, but through television and telephony, we shall see and hear one another as perfectly as though we were face to face. The devices capable of such tasks, Tesla said, would be rather small. He added, "A man will be able to carry one in his vest pocket." The theory of evolution, as suggested by Charles Darwin, explains how the physical appearance, abilities, and structures of living things change over thousands of years. In a 1900 essay for the Ladies' Home Journal, prolific freelance feature writer John Elfreth Watkins Jr. shared the idea that humans would continue to evolve, at least in one very specific area. He wrote, "The Americans will be taller by from 1 to 2 inches. His increase of stature will result from better health due to vast reforms in medicine, sanitation, food, and athletics." Around the time that Watkins published his article, the average adult American man stood 5 feet 7 inches, and the average adult American woman measured 5 feet 3 inches. Today, American males stand about 5 feet 10 inches and women at 5 feet 4 inches. The average height for guys increased by 3 inches, more than Watkins' suggestion, while women are an inch taller, which was exactly the author's prediction. In 1967, appliance manufacturer Philco Ford commissioned the short film 1999 AD. The 26-minute piece chronicles day-to-day life in an imagined home in the year 1999. One character, Michael Shore, works in the botany department of a Mars colonization project, developing food that will yield more calories and prove hardy.
The world of 1999 and beyond is limited only by the boundaries of our imagination today.
The film shows Shore working at his electronic workstation, outfitted with an electronic screen that he can use to view images of the cellular structures of plants, technology reflected today in digital photography and touchscreens. According to the film, the computer will be the secretary, librarian, banker, teacher, medical technician, bridge partner, and all-around servant in this house of tomorrow. Case in point, wife and mother Karen Shore uses a computer terminal for online shopping, flipping through images of products and then buying the items she wants via push-button technology. A purchase on this proto-Amazon.com is paid for by electronically debiting the Shore family's bank account. In his 1900 article for the Ladies' Home Journal, John Elfreth Watkins Jr. categorized his predictions as not his own, but rather prophecies, which he claimed that he received by consulting, in his words, the most learned and conservative minds in America. One such educated guess covered the way in which photographs would be captured and distributed 100 years in the future. In doing so, Watkins and his unnamed source foresaw the development of digital photography and instantaneous distribution. Watkins wrote, If there be a battle in China 100 years hence, snapshots of its most striking events will be published in the newspapers an hour later. Of course, this is an uncanny description of how smartphone cameras and the internet can be used to obtain and share pictures globally and instantly via media outlets. Watkins also added that photographs will reproduce all of nature's colors, foreseeing the rise of ultra-high-resolution digital photography. John Elfrith Watkins' 1900 article offered a wealth of predictions for the decades to come. In addition to predicting a change in human biology and new developments in consumer goods and communications methods, Watkins described in impressive detail the operation and purpose of medical technology. He wrote, "Microscopes will lay bare the vital organs through the living flesh, or men and animals. Not only will it be possible for a physician to actually see a living, throbbing heart inside a chest, but he will be able to magnify and photograph any part of it." In those few sentences, Watkins casually laid out the now commonplace use of medical imaging machinery, such as CT scanners, MRI machines, and X-ray terminals. His accurate, if rather simple, explanation concluded, "This work will be done with rays of invisible light." As a prolific inventor and possessor of more than 1,000 patents, Thomas Edison helped shape the day-to-day life of people living in the 20th century and beyond. His expertise in future tech solidified with his involvement in the creation of the phonograph, motion picture cameras, and even a rudimentary tattoo gun. In 1911, Edison sat for an interview with the Miami metropolis, in which he described the myriad treasures and changes that awaited the human race. Edison was particularly astute on transportation matters. Predicting the imminent demise of steam engine-powered locomotives, Edison believed that in 100 years' time, trains would run on electricity. However, he added that the average tourist would dismiss high-speed rail travel in favor of sophisticated airplanes that would fly at speeds upwards of 200 miles an hour. How right was Edison? Rail lines started to phase out steam engine trains in the 1920s, so he was dead on from his 1911 perspective. Further, electric trains first went into mainstream operation in Europe in the 1910s, with that method of power used in a third of the world's railway systems by the 2010s. As for the airplanes, Edison was correct about large commercial airplanes, but not about their speed. Transcontinental commercial jet airliners fly in excess of 500 miles per hour on average, which is much speedier than Edison's lofty prediction. Arthur C. Clarke predicted the look and mechanics of space travel with his 1968 science fiction novel 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
He also showed how people in the future would use advanced technology to kill time when they're bored. In the novel, scientific specialist Dr. Heywood Floyd takes a work trip to a moon base, and he's left with plenty of free time while he's up there. Clarke wrote, "When he tired of official reports and memoranda and minutes, he would plug his fool's cap-sized news pad into the ship's information circuits and scan the latest reports from Earth." A fool's cap is a sheet of typing paper, meaning the news pad that Clarke describes is of those dimensions, roughly similar to that of a contemporary real-world Apple iPad. A tablet computer allows instant access to constantly updated information from long extant news sources left over from the print media era, much like the newspaper feeds Dr. Floyd can view via the newspad. Clarke continued, "One by one, he would conjure up the world's major electronic papers. The very word newspaper, of course, was an anachronistic hangover into the age of electronics." 20th century global geopolitics was shaped by the threat of atomic warfare. The world had already gotten a glimpse at the horror of atomic bombs when the US dropped them on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan at the end of World War II. Ominously and remarkably, the atomic bomb was foretold in shocking detail in H.G. Wells' 1914 novel The World Set Free. The book posits a world in which atomic science could be used to generate endless energy, or make fearsome weapons of untold might. Wells wrote, "We have a source of power so potent that a man might carry in his hand the energy to light a city for a year, fight a fleet of battleships, or drive one of our giant liners across the Atlantic." Wells then went on to describe the process of handlers in a plane dropping atomic explosives onto cities. He imagined, "The bomb flashed blinding scarlet in midair and fell, a descending column ablaze, eddying spirally in the midst of a whirlwind." Wells also described these weapons as the crowning triumph of military science, which might one day give the decisive touch to war. The Chicago Cubs once held the dubious record of longest time without winning a championship, not just for Major League Baseball, but for all of the major North American professional team sports. The Cubs won the World Series in 1908, and then over the next century plus made it into that championship round 7 more times, losing every last one of them. Finally, in 2016, the Cubs defeated Cleveland 8-7 in Game 7 of the World Series, ending its title drought once and for all, and supposedly overcoming a curse placed on the team in 1945 by an irate Chicago bar owner who wasn't allowed to bring his pet goat to a game. But that's neither here nor there. The Cubs had gone so long without winning at all that to predict the team ever doing so would be little more than a hopeful guess, much less figuring out when. But a high school student got it right, more than 2 decades before it actually happened. Mike Lee graduated from Mission Viejo High School in 1993. His senior quote that accompanied his photo in the yearbook read, "Chicago Cubs, 2016, World Champions. You heard it here first." The prediction went viral shortly after the Cubs won the 2016 World Series, as Lee predicted, after his old classmates sent the yearbook clipping to various sports blogs. Samuel Clemens, otherwise known as Mark Twain, is invariably counted among the United States literary giants. After beginning his career as a reporter, Twain wrote all kinds of popular works, from classic novels such as The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and The Prince and the Pauper, to countless short stories and humor pieces. Twain was known for his quips, too, like in 1909 when he reflected on the unique cosmic circumstances of his birth. He said, "I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835. It is coming again next year, and I expect to go out with it. It will be the greatest disappointment of my life if I don't go out with Halley's Comet." Halley's Comet is visible on Earth on average every 76 years. Mark Twain was born in a Halley's Comet year, and exactly as he'd predicted, he passed in one too. Twain died at age 74 in 1910.